Hello world, welcome back to Razor RC. You knew this was coming. Today we're going to talk about everything right and wrong with the Traxxas Hoss. So what is this? A brand new 1-ton scale electric 4-wheel drive monster truck from Traxxas. And you may be wondering, well, don't they already make a electric 1-ton scale 4-wheel drive monster truck? Yeah, they do. They make the Stampede 4x4 VXL, which I own. And you may be saying to yourself, wait, no, not that one. Don't they make another 1-ton scale electric 4-wheel drive monster truck? Yes, they make the Traxxas Maxx, which I also own. So you may be wondering, well, then what is the Hoss? So, good question. And what this is basically a vehicle that slots in between the Stampede and the Maxx, both price-wise and size-wise. So the Stampede is about a 10.5-inch wheelbase vehicle, and the Maxx is about a 12.5-inch wheelbase vehicle, and so the Hoss is like 11.5 inches. So it's about the same length and size as a Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL. It's also very, very similar in design and execution to the pre-existing Stampede 4x4/4x4, Rustler 4x4, Rally 4x4. Just another vehicle in that whole family of cars that they already have out. So it retails for $480. My local hobby shop actually had one available for demo, and so we were looking at that today. I was over there with Driftomaniacs actually taking a look at these vehicles. And I just wanted to share my thoughts, having taken a look and examining it in person up close, and having owned pretty much every other vehicle in this lineup. I'm very, very familiar with these vehicles and just want to share my thoughts. So I want to give you everything that's right and wrong with the Traxxas Hoss. First up, the thing I like the most about this vehicle is the motor. So they basically took the Traxxas Maxx motor, which is a 36 by 91 millimeter can motor. It's really 4S capable, 2400 kV motor. Now the Hoss is really only a 3S vehicle, so they're reusing the VXL 3S ESC hooked up to that Maxx motor. But yeah, it's nice to have a much larger motor, more torque. That was always one issue with the Valenian system, is that it tended to run pretty hot, especially on 3S. So the Maxx motor is more than up to the task of running in the Hoss. Second thing I like is the body cage. Actually, it's got kind of that Rustler 4x4 type system with the exoskeleton type cage that just provides a little more protection in rollovers, crashes, that kind of thing. Not a super huge fan of that clip-on system, so it makes it really easy to take the body on and off, but it does tend to pop off on its own a bit, so kind of ambivalent about that. But I do like the extra protection, and these bodies are definitely much more durable than the older ones like the Stampede or Slash bodies. Third thing I like is the upgraded drive shafts. So again, that was one of the weaknesses of this whole lineup. The plastic drive shafts in the past tended to just kind of wear out, break. The little ears on the connectors would eventually wear out and break, especially on more power. So this, they designed for 3S. They got these new drive shafts that look very similar to the Rustler 4x4 drive shafts, but I think they're made out of a newer material, so they should hold up a little better. Nice to see they actually made some improvements in that area. I also like the brand new steel spur gear, so that again is one of the weaknesses of this line in the Slash or Stampede. The plastic spur gears, it's 32 pitch, mod 0.8, but the plastic ones would definitely break under more power, especially if you didn't have your slipper set right. So they do have a nice upgrade there, and they also included basically a center differential. They call it like a torque vectoring system or torque biasing type system. As far as I can tell, it's pretty much just a center diff. That's just Traxxas speak for what they call a center differential. So nothing super crazy there. And it's pretty much similar to the system they used in the Maxx. But I don't think it has any sort of cush drive or anything like that. So steel spur gear, definitely a nice thing, especially with that center differential. Number 5 on this list is the Sledgehammer tires. So the old Talon tires that they have on the Stampede are terrible. The Maxx tires, they're okay, not all that great, but the Sledgehammer tires, which as you can see are very similar to some other tires out there, Proline. Yeah, they look like they should provide a lot more traction. They're the right size as well. I took a comparison with the Granite 4x4 tire, so they're pretty much the exact same size. So nice to see that Traxxas is working on their tire game and making some improvements in that area. Up next is the receiver box. So they basically have an integrated receiver box up front. So they had to make room basically for that longer motor from the Traxxas Maxx. You know, it's about, I don't know, 30 millimeters longer. So a lot of ways they do that is by putting the receiver up front like they do on the Stampede. But this one is integrated into the chassis, so you don't actually have a full receiver box, and it's really just a top half that mates into the chassis with a nice little flat spot underneath. And the cool thing about this is if you don't want a receiver box, you don't have to. You can just take that top half off. If you're not worried about making this whole thing waterproof, or you have a waterproof receiver already, you can just take that top half off, stick the receiver on that little flat spot, and just have a nice clean look without that whole bulky receiver box. Next up is the gear mesh insert. So again, that was one of the weaknesses with the Stampede or Slash, is that there's really only a single screw holding the motor in place. The other end kind of has this fixed pin that's holding the other side of the motor plate, but for the gear mesh, you know, it would tend to kind of get out of alignment because there's really only a single screw. So they did introduce these gear mesh inserts in the Rustler 4x4 VXL, and they are, I believe, backwards compatible with older motor plates. So if you want to run these on your older Slash or Rally or whatever, you can actually just buy these parts for a few dollars and use them. So I like these just because they kind of keep the motor in place a little bit better than the older style single pin or single screw type motor retention system. And the last thing is the battery strap. I am a fan of the battery straps on the Traxxas Hoss and Stampede and stuff. Out of the box, it fits a 26 millimeter tall LiPo, which will, you know, pretty much fit any 2S type LiPo. And then they also include a second battery strap for 35 millimeter type batteries, so that will fit your typical 3S size batteries. This is something I felt like they missed on the Maxx, where you really couldn't fit a normal sized 4S battery in the Maxx, but with the Hoss, you know, it's really only up to 3S capable, so the 35 millimeter strap is big enough. Now that's everything right with the Traxxas Hoss. What do I think is wrong? And yeah, there are definitely a few things I feel like they missed on this truck. So number one is the price. $480 is a ridiculous amount of money. I'm just gonna go out and say it. It's ridiculous. It's not even expensive. It's just like crazy high and a lot of money. Now, when you look at the competition, you have things like the Team Associated MT10 that I also own. That is $300. Again, 3S capable, 110 scale electric 4-wheel drive monster truck, and a really good vehicle at that. You also have the Arma Granite 4x4 3S BLX. That sells for $320, so $160 less. Has arguably better components in there. Probably drives a little bit better. I don't know, you know, we'll have to see. Those two are coming out in the next couple of weeks. But $160 is a crazy amount of money. This is 50% more than an Arma Granite. So yeah, $480, I don't know what they're thinking there. So even compared to other vehicles in the Traxxas lineup, you have the Stampede, which is about $380. The price kind of fluctuates a little bit, but currently it's about $380. So $100 less than the Hoss. Pretty much is the exact same vehicle. I mean, you do have some upgrades, like I mentioned. You have the bigger motor, you have the steel spur gear, you have the better tires, you have the better body, but $100 is really I'm not really seeing the value there. So rather than kind of upgrade their vehicles through time, they basically just upgrade the vehicles and charge you more for those newer components. So that is number one for sure on this list. Price is way, 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 way too expensive. Number two is the Ultra Shock. So this is really, again, the biggest weakness on this whole lineup of vehicles. The plastic Ultra Shocks are these tiny little, I think they're like 10 millimeter bore shocks that have been around for literally 20 years. I'm not even exaggerating, like 20 years these things have been out. They do have better shocks made by Traxxas, the GTR aluminum body shocks, which are about 13 millimeter bore. But these are not good shocks. The shafts tend to bend, the plastic shock caps tend to fall off. For $480, I would have expected much better shocks. Number three is a servo, and yes, they're using the venerable 2075 plastic geared servo. I think it's 125 inches of torque. This is, again, a servo from like 20 years ago. Well, probably not 20 years ago, but a really long time ago. Pretty much every other servo in this class is metal geared, higher torque, better performance. They do make a 2075X, so they really should have included the metal geared servo into this vehicle, but again, a bit of a cost-cutting measure by Traxxas, so I don't think, yeah, that was a good choice. Number 4 is the high center of gravity chassis. So Traxxas loves their high center of gravity chassis, and this is basically just a stretch Stampede. The Rustler has like a flat body, low center of gravity chassis, but for these monster trucks, they do like having the high center of gravity chassis. I'm not as big of a fan of those. I don't feel like that higher ground clearance or whatever is worth it. The Granite performs totally fine with a flat bottom chassis, so for better handling, better performance, I do like the LCG chassis better. Not a huge deal, but yeah, having that exposed servo on the bottom, you know, again, is kind of janky, so yeah, not a big fan of that. And finally, the ESC, the VXL 3S ESC. This ESC has always run kind of hot. It's been around for a while, you know, about 6 or 7 years, this iteration of the VXL 3S. So there are actually 2 versions of this ESC. They did make some improvements about 6 years ago, but yeah, it still tends to run hot, and you'll notice that it comes with a fan now, whereas the other vehicles did not come with a fan. So you can tell that this thing's a little bit overloaded for this type of vehicle. So that'll be something I think some people will definitely want to change out. So the motor is great. I'm glad to see the Maxx motor, but the ESC, yeah, a little bit on the weak side in my opinion, and my experiences with the Valenian system in the past. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My thoughts on the Traxxas Hoss. Oh, the last thing, the Hoss, kind of a weird name. It just sounds weird. You know, a lot of people were talking about how that means horse or something like that. You know, I don't know. I'm not from Texas, and I did notice all the Traxxas names kind of have this like cowboy type theme. You know, the Rustler, the Stampede, the Bandit. And as far as I know, Hoss is kind of means something like dude or chief or boss. You know, kind of like, hey, what's up, Hoss? Or how you doing, Hoss? That kind of thing. So it's kind of slang, I think, for just kind of another, you know, dude, hey, what's up, you know, but a little bit of a term of respect. You wouldn't say that to your enemy. So anyways, that's it. My thoughts on the Traxxas Hoss. Let me know what you think down below. Are you going to pick one up? I'm really on the fence on this one. If it were like $380, I would definitely buy one. At $480, I think it is quite pricey, especially as compared to the competition. So yeah, I'm thinking about this, but let me know what you think, and if you're going to get one of these, or if you think it's a good buy, or maybe not so good buy. So that's my thoughts on the Traxxas Hoss. Definitely hit the like, share, subscribe button. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.